everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. So let me share my screen so you all can see it. And I hope everyone is just as excited as I am about Excel. So today we have our first business case using Excel. So first, a little bit of housekeeping. I am sharing my screen, so you should be able to see my screen right now. If you don't see it, it's maybe your Zoom settings. Maybe at the top, there's somewhere where it says speaker screen. I don't know, something like that. But you should be able to see my screen right now because I am sharing it. So make sure you have that in there. The next thing is that we are going to be working with Excel. So there's a family of tools that are very similar. So you have Excel Online, you have Numbers, you have Google Sheets. So you're more than welcome to use whichever one you want. My suggestion will be to use Excel Online. My suggestion is to use Excel Online because that's what I'm going to be using. So it's going to be easier for you to follow along. Because even within Excel, if you have the desktop version, depending on your type of computer and which version do you have, it might be slightly different. So my strong suggestion would be to use Excel Online. So let me post that link in the chat. So while I give announcements. If you haven't created an account, make sure you create an account so you can follow along. So I posted that link in the chat. You should be able to click on it. If you already have a Microsoft account, you can just log in with that account. If you don't, you can just follow the steps real quick to create an account. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that today we're going to be working with this case, which is Intro to Excel. So you can just open the Codio case, and that's what we're going to be working on. I'm also going to be sharing my screen, so completely up to you if you want to have Codio open or just Excel open. Also, remember last time I gave you a tip. So if you have two screens, that will be super helpful for you to follow along. So you can have the Zoom call in one screen and the either Excel or Codio open in the other screen. So that's completely up to you how you want to set it up, but just giving you some tips. Also, as always, if you have any questions, send them onto the live chat so we can answer them. If you have any issues, send a screenshot so we can help you. If I don't get to answer your question live, don't worry, because our amazing TAs are there making sure no question goes unanswered. Um, uh, yeah, I say in the chat, I wish I had two screens. Maybe you already have them and you hadn't realized. You could even use your TV as a second screen, but I know that would be a little bit cumbersome. Even your phone can act as a second screen, or within the same screen that you have, you could just split it in half. So you have half watching the Zoom call and half to practice and follow along. As always, this is also getting recorded. So if you have any doubts later on, you can go back and watch the recording. All right, cool. So the case for today is calculating order prices in a convenience store. So if you already know some Excel, bear with us. This class is gonna feel a little bit easy, but our main goal is to bring everyone to the same speed, make sure everyone is on the same page. So once we're doing more sophisticated Excel things, everyone is there. All right, cool. So let me check the chat, see how we are doing. I see that, okay, people are there. Okay, so let's start with our case. So the goal for today is to introduce you to the basics of Excel. As we continue throughout the lecture, this is what you're going to be learning. So first thing, how to add data to an Excel file. The second thing is how to write formulas in Excel using various arithmetic operations like multiplication, addition, and subtraction. We are also gonna learn how to copy and paste values, how to copy and paste formulas. Yeah, so cool stuff coming up ahead. Oh, and also we're gonna be learning some shortcuts. So you're gonna learn how to do stuff with the mouse as usual, but also how to do it with keyword shortcuts so you can be faster when you're working with Excel. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. So this is your first business case today. And what I mean by this is that one of the things that I love the most about teaching at Correlation One is that everything that you learned is based on a real business case scenario. So each class, we're going to use a business case as an excuse to learn a tool. So for example, today this is going to be the business case. I'll tell you more about the business case in a few minutes, and that's our excuse to learn Excel. But this is pretty awesome because many of the cases that we're going to be working out through this program are things that I actually have had to do at work, and the different lead instructors have had to do at work. So once you get to work is going to feel very, very easy because you have been exposed to these different cases. Okay, so what is the case for today? So today you have been hired as an assistant in a small convenience store. So this small convenience store specializes in selling candy and snacks. So to keep up with the current customer trends, the shop owner has decided to start serving delivery orders that customers place via WhatsApp. So if you don't know WhatsApp, WhatsApp is kind of similar like a messaging app. So think of like texting. Um, so the issue that the owner has is that several unusually large orders have been returned because their prices were incorrectly calculated. So this is a bad scenario. It's a bad scenario for the customers because they're unhappy. They didn't get the correct order, the correct pricing, and also a bad scenario for the owner because nobody wants their products to be returned. You want to be able to sell your products and not have them returned. So the reason why this is happening, why the owner is having issues and having these prices incorrectly, is because the owner has been just using manual stuff. So a pen and a paper and a pocket calculator. So which is fine if someone is getting one product, if someone is getting two products. But once you get a large order, you're bound to make a human mistake. So now the shop owner is saying, I need to go big. So the owner hired you, and you're gonna propose a solution that is better than just using pen and paper. So this scenario could happen to you. For example, if in your family someone has a small business and you want to help them make their business more efficient, or yeah, you have your own business too, so this could very much happen. I see the chat. I'm happy that people are excited about this case. I also love candy and snacks, so we're going to be craving candy as we go through this lecture. Okay, so the business problem, your task, is to come up with a way to simplify the process of calculating the total price of each order and make it more exact and reliable. And usually in the analytical context, we have the data that we should give to you so you can work with that data. Today's a little bit different. Today we have this screenshot. So let me make my screen bigger so you can see it better. So the screenshot is this WhatsApp message. It's a customer saying, "Hey, Lucy." I assume Lucy is the shop owner. So it says, "Hey, Lucy, can you please send me Revels 2 bags, Jordan almonds 3 bags, Mars bars 5, Twix 4, Kit Kat 4, 4 boxes of 48, Skittles 7, Kinder bars 2, Marshmallow 1, Snickers 10, Hershey's cookies 2, and M&M's 6 bags." And then the owner says, "Sure thing." So our task is going to be to put that data in Excel. All right. I see in the chat that some people used to have a snack shop, so you could apply this knowledge today to your own store. All right, cool. So let's go on Excel. So I'm gonna send the link again in the chat. This is the last call for everyone to be here. So I'll just give it a minute so people can log in. With that link I'm sending in the chat, you should, and after you have logged in, you should be able to see exactly the same thing I'm seeing on my screen. So once you're there, send me a thumbs up, so I know that you guys are there, and then we'll take it from there. All right, a lot of thumbs up. Also, if you have any issues, don't feel intimidated by the thumbs up. Feel free to send whatever issue you're having, a screenshot, whatever it is, so we can help you. Yeah, so I saw a comment in the chat. If you don't see files down here, that's okay, because that means it's the first time you're using Excel. You're just seeing my old files, so don't worry if you're not seeing this. These are files that I've worked with in the past. So I'll give it 30 more seconds to make sure everyone is there. Oh, so that's a good point. So our lovely TA Jan is telling us that if you have issues, put it in the extra help. So we can help you with those. All right, awesome. So once you're here, this is how the Excel version looks like. So what you have to do is to click here on blank workbook. Eventually, later on, you can play around with the different templates. For example, if you're doing an invoice, you can click on it and it already has a bunch of things created for you. But if you're starting something from scratch, what you want to click is a blank workbook. So that's what we are going to be doing today. So here's a workbook. I'm gonna click here on allow access. That's just my browser asking for some access. So I'm just gonna give it access, and this is your Excel workbook. So an Excel file, for example, here I had a bunch of files. An Excel file is called a workbook. And what do books have? Books have sheets. So the same thing happens in Excel. You have a workbook, which is the whole file, and then you have different worksheets. So we're looking at the first worksheet. This workbook, since it's new, it only has one sheet, but you can add more by clicking here on the plus sign. And you can add as many worksheets as you want. So you can have different data on different worksheets. So again, if you missed it, to create a new worksheet, and you can create as many as you want, you click on the plus here. Maybe you're wondering, how do I get rid of some of the worksheets I created? So you can just do right click on each one of the tabs and click delete. And okay, and again, right click and delete. So you don't have to do that right now, but just in case you were wondering. Okay, so what do we have here? So here we have the cells, hence why it's called Excel. And these cells are going to contain information. So for example, I can click on any cell, whichever one, and I'm going to just write my name, for example. So one cool thing about Excel is that if you want to let others know where your data is, you can follow a system that is very similar to the game Battleship. So I don't know if you guys played Battleship as kids, where you had to play some ships and then you were trying to guess where the enemy ship was and you were trying to guess. So it's the same thing here. You have columns and rows, and each column has a name. So the name for the first column is A, this next one is B, the next one is C, the next one is D, and so on until the end of times. When you start running out of letters, then it's going to be AA, AB, AC, and so on. So you can have as big of a Excel sheet as you want. And then for the rows, same thing. Each row has a name, which are just numbers. So row number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. So when you want to say, where do you have your data? You would say, for example, my name is on the cell E7 because it's in column E and row 7. You cannot change those names. Those are by default. So they're always going to be there. So everyone, if you say, okay, cell E7, everyone is going to know where cell E7 is. And later on, this is going to be very useful when you start creating formulas because you want to reference different cells. So now you know how to call those cells. I had the same problem. I see Shinsuke in the chat saying that sometimes you mix up the word rows and columns. I had the same problem, but the way I memorized it is that a column, think of a construction, and constructions have columns and they're vertical, and that's how I learned it. And then I never again forgot it. All right, cool. So that's on sales. Let's see. The next thing, okay, you can have the title. Here's the title of your workbook. So you can change the name of it if you want. You don't have to, but if you want, you could say my first Excel, whatever you want to call it. So here is where you would change that name. If you're familiar with Word, this is very similar to Word. So for example, again, if I have my name, I can click on it and I can make it bold. I can change the font color. I can change the font itself. So yeah, you can just play around. As you might notice, there's also a bunch of buttons. So I'm not going to go through all of them today. Throughout the program, we're going to go through the different buttons. But also, I would encourage you to explore because that's the best way to learn, to just explore. Nothing bad will happen if you have a new workbook and you start clicking on each one of the buttons. The worst thing that you can happen is that can happen is that you create a bad Excel file and then you just delete it and end of story. So I would encourage you to just play around with Excel. But the next thing that is very important is this bar. So this bar is what basically makes Excel Excel. This bar is called the function bar. And this is where you're going to be able to see the different math formulas that we're going to be working with. So for example, if you right now, because I have selected this cell, it's empty. But if I click on my name here in the formula bar, I see my name. So I'm seeing the same thing. But once we start having math formulas and we see the result here, but you want to know what's the formula behind that result, you would look in here. So this will be the main characteristic of Excel. So let's see. All right, cool. Awesome. So now that I have said this, time for a little exercise. So let me pull it up in the chat and I'll give you 1 minute for this question. So what is the correct way to give the location of a single cell in Excel? And these are the options. Out of the given options, which one do you think it is? Can you call a friend? Yes, you can. All right. Yes, everyone is absolutely right. So the correct answer is this one. So you should reference to be able to call a cell. You should reference the column name, which is going to be the letter, and the cell name, which is going to be the number. So maybe you were tempted to answer this one, but the correct answer is this one because the column name always goes first. So D2, not 2D. Um, I was having a little bit of a blunt moment because I saw a lot of people saying B, and I was like, that's not even one option, but I realized you meant like B. This is the answer. So yes, everyone got it right. All right, cool. So the next thing that we are gonna be doing is to insert data into Excel. So we're gonna start populating our spreadsheet with the order data. So let me put it in the screen so you can see what's the order data. Also, I'll send it into the chat if people want to have it for whatever reason. So what we are going to be doing next is we're going to be writing the items that are here in the order. So let's give it a title. So we're going to say items. And you could either click on the next cell and write the next item. So it will be, in this case, Rebels. And you could click again, but also you could hit the enter or return key, and that will bring you to the next cell. So you can do it either way. So I'll give you, let's say, 2 minutes to complete that, and we'll do it together. Of course, if you have any questions, let us know in the chat.
2 minutes left. Left. Seconds left. Seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
The music makes it sound scarier than it is. Okay, cool. So let's do it together now. Hopefully everyone did it already, but in case you didn't, let's do it together. So I'm gonna hit enter to go into the next row. So the next one is gonna be Jordan Almonds. The next one is gonna be Mars Bars, Twix, Skittles, Kinder bars and marshmallows, Snickers, Hershey's, cookies, and cream, and M&M's. Oh no, I killed the Kit Kat. Twix. I'm so happy I'm working with you guys. I would definitely would love to have you guys as my colleagues. So Kit Kat. All right, awesome. So thank you for being there. Cool. So that's everything you had to do. This was our first practice with Excel on how to insert data. So a few things, just random advice, random tips. So the first tip is sponsored by Chelsea. So I told you that to move down, you can just hit enter and you're moving down. If you wanted to move right, you hit the tab key. So the tab key is here next to the letter Q. So you just hit tab and it starts moving to the right. So that's the first tip. The next tip is I like to make titles pretty. So I'm just gonna select this and make it bold and maybe give it a color. You don't have to do that by just, you could. The next tip is that, I don't know if you guys noticed, but some of the candies are too long. The name of the candies is long, and it's overflowing the column. So a quick way to fix the width of the column to adjust for the longest thing in the column is to take your mouse, hover between the two columns. So between A and B, you should be able to see this cursor that pulls out and double click on it. And that automatically fixes the width of the column. So just tips. You don't have to do this, but that's just to do the tips. All right, cool. How do you rename the column items? So these column names, I'm not sure if that's what you're asking. These column names are there forever. You cannot change these column names. But here you can just use the first row as your custom column name. So I'm using here as items. Let's see. What else? Oh, great question. So how did I add the Kit Kat after I missed it? So what I did is that I right-clicked on the row here, so on number 6, and I clicked on insert one row above. And then here you can insert whatever candy you missed. So that's a good question. All right, cool. People are already skipping ahead, so I like that. So now you can go back to Excel. We're not really going to be working with this file anymore. That was just to practice how to plug in data. But now I'm going to give you an Excel file. So now your task is going to be to upload that Excel file that already has data. So this could happen very much in the workplace where they would give you a file that already has data and you have to work with it. So the link to the file is going to be this one. Let me put it in the chat. So if you click on that file, on that link, it should download. But also, let me just send you the file into the chat if that's easier. I think that should be easier. Oh, it gives an error. Oh yeah, that's giving an error. Never mind. I'm going to delete it. But I sent the file in the chat, so that should help it. I know, I sent the file. Let me show you here. Okay, I'll send that again in the chat, the file. So you can just download the file. You don't have to go search for the link. So if you're seeing here this in the chat, just click here on download and it downloads the exercise. All right, cool. So once you have it in your computer, it's probably in your downloads folder. So for example, for me, I have it here in my downloads folder. I also have it in my desktop. So once you have it there, if you double click on it, it's going to try to open whatever you have in your computer, if you have Excel or numbers. But that's not what we're doing here today. So what you can do is go back to this Excel online and find this upload button all the way to the right. So if you don't see the button, maybe it's just like this. If your screen is smaller, maybe it's just like this, an arrow like this. So either find this arrow going up or upload and you click on it and then you find your file wherever you have it in your computer. So like if you have it in downloads, you can just select it here. So again, in case you missed it, you click on upload and then you upload that file there. So maybe some of you have the same issue I just had, which is if you're in Chrome, is saying here, oh, do you wanna, there's like a pop-up. So just say always allow pop-ups from this website and then try again. Because it should have opened it, but it didn't happen. So that was the issue. Now it opened it. All right, cool. So let me know if you're there. Send me a thumbs up if you're there. If you want to use a different app like Numbers, you can. The issue is that sometimes the formulas are slightly different. So if you want to be able to follow along and see exactly the same things that I'm showing on the screen, then you would need Excel Online. All right, fantastic. So seems like most people are there. I see a few comments of people that it's not opening for you. If it's not opening for you, it could be the issue of the pop-up. So if you, now I don't see it anymore because I already clicked on allow, but if you see a symbol here, click on it and say allow pop-ups. So that could be the issue. Yeah, for the people not seeing it, it might be that pop-up that I wish I would have taken a screenshot of it, but it was a button here that it appeared, and so you have to click on it and say yes, allow pop-ups. And I'll send I think the file is actually in hashtag resources. So if you lose it in the chat, just go on hashtag resources and you can pull it up from there. And resources also has the link. So even if you want the link or the Excel file, you can do that. All right, awesome. So let's continue. So now we have this file that contains some data. And our next task is again to add some data to it. So let me show you the data that you're supposed to add to it. So the data is this one. So let me put it in here so you can see it. And yeah, you're supposed to put this data in here. So 2 and so on. So I'll give you a couple of minutes. That way people that are still struggling with opening the file, they have some time. And then we'll do it together.
2 minutes left.
right, awesome. So let's do it together. So you just had to put in the quantities. So 2, 3, 5, 4, 4, 7, 2, 1, 10, 2, 6. And there you go. Again, if you wanted to make the columns the same width as the text, the trick is to click here. If you want to do all the columns at the same time, is to click here in the corner and then hover between two columns, any column, and double click on it. And now we are able to see the table, all the names in this column. And I'm gonna make the title bold so it's easier to recognize that that's the title. That's completely optional. I see a fantastic question in the chat. So James is asking, would it be acceptable in a business setting to use an LLM, so something like ChatGPT, to read the WhatsApp text and output all the data formatted into Excel? So it depends. The answer is it depends. I like the clever thinking. What tools can I use? And that's always what you want to be doing as a data analyst. Think if you can use a different tool to accomplish the same task. So in theory, it could work. The only reason why I say it depends is because if it's sensitive data, like private information, secrets of the company, you shouldn't put it in ChatGPT, because then the owner of ChatGPT, which is the company OpenAI, would have access to that data. So you don't want to be accidentally spilling the secrets of the company by putting it onto ChatGPT. But if there's no safety concerns, then yeah, that would be completely acceptable. All right, cool. Does it automatically save as we type? Yes, it does. Let's see, what else? So for example, Rob is saying that Amazon doesn't allow any external LLMs. So be careful if you're working with Amazon data, you shouldn't be using LLMs. Right, awesome. So let's do the next exercise. So the next exercise is very similar. You're going to create a new column. This new column is going to be called unit price, and you need to insert these values. One small caveat, don't put the $sign, just put the numbers. Why? Because once you put the dollar number, Excel is going to think it is a string of text, not numbers. So you're not going to be able to do math on those numbers. So you want to put just the number, don't put the $sign. So I'll give you a couple of minutes for that as well, and then we'll do it together.
Left. Left.
So once again, what we're doing is just creating this new column with the prices that we see here.
Seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
All right, so let's do that again. So the title of the column is price. Then all right, so welcome back, everyone. I'm gonna share my screen. Welcome back from your break. And we have a little bit of a song. All right, so that's the Excel song. I'll put it in the music channel in case you guys want to listen to it while you work on your exercises. But let's come back to our class today. Yeah, it is on YouTube. I literally just typed Excel song and that's what appeared. It's so good. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I just randomly listen to that song at home. All right, awesome. So what are we doing today? Our business case is to help a small business owner go from pen and paper to go into Excel. So one of their clients had this order via WhatsApp. It's a bunch of candies. So it seems like a lot of us are breaking our diets today after so much candy talk. And what we have so far is this, not this one, this other one, this Excel spreadsheet with this information so far. If you don't have it, if you're not here, maybe what I can do is to download this. Let's see. Download a copy, and I'm just gonna send it into the chat. So if you were not there, you can just catch up. All right, awesome. So what are we doing next? So next, what we want is to compute the total price of the order. So step number one, we have to calculate the total price per item, because here we have the quantity and the unit price, so we just need the total price. I'm going to tell you which items have some discounts, so you can also compute the discount. And then we're going to sum all of the totals of the item totals to get the grand total. So that's where we're heading towards. So let's start with total price per item. So if you were going to do it with pen and paper, so you have quantities 2 and the price is 10. So you would say 2 times 10, and that's 20. And you would do that for each one of the rows. But we're going to learn how to do it with Excel. So the very first thing that you need to know about Excel is that to write any math equation, you're going to click on the cell and you're going to write the equals symbol. So the equals symbol is going to let Excel know that we're going to write math. So for example, if you wrote here 2 times 10, it will, oh, it shouldn't have done that. Let me go back. Yeah, 2 times 10, it will, well, if this is happening to you, it's just automatically populating this. So what I'm doing to get rid of this is to press Control C, so to undo my last doing. So Control Z and Control Z, and then there you go. Sometimes Excel does things automatically that is not even what you want to do. But anyway, and also if you're on Mac, it might be a little bit different. Let me pull up the keyboard. So to undo the last thing that you did in Mac is Command Z if you have a Mac computer. If you have a Windows computer is Control Z. So anything that if I say Control or Command, just know if your Mac is Command, if your Windows is Control. So in this case, Command Z and Control Z. Okay, so what I was gonna say is that by writing the equals, Excel knows that it's some math happening in there, so it's gonna compute the math for you. Look at it, he did it again. So here you see the result, but if you click on the cell in the formula, you see the formula. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Here you can see what is the formula that is generating this result. With a normal number that you just wrote, like this one, if you click on it, you'll see the number itself. But in here, this number is the result of a math operation. So here on the formula, you will see the formula. However, this is not the best way to do it. Why? Because we're doing it manually. And what if you accidentally had a typo and instead of saying 10, you wrote 100 by mistake, like you added an extra zero by mistake, then it's saying this, which is incorrect. So what is the best way to do it? So I'm gonna get rid of this, all of this. We don't want this. The name of the column is item total. So let's just put that in there. And okay, the correct way to do it is to reference the cells themselves. So let's do that. So equals, and then where is this 2 in this Excel spreadsheet? It is in C2. So you could write C2 and then see that it's highlighting C2 and it's even color coded. Times, and you could write D2, but the other option is that you can just click on the cell. So here, normally should have appeared D2. And then you have it. So I think this is happening because this is got formatted as a table automatically. Let me see, how do I undo this? Because it's showing all my tricks. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna delete this so I can show you different things. I mean, that's what we want to do at the end of the day. So if you have it there already, it's fine. But yeah, so this is how you write a formula. So you would say equals the first value times the second value. So for example, let's say if you wanted to write the next formula, what would it be? It would be this value, this cell, times this other cell. And you hit enter and you get your result. All right, cool. That's also another good point. What I see in the chat, in Excel, to multiply something, you need to use the star symbol. If you use the X, it's gonna think it's the letter X, so you need to use the star symbol. If you're doing the hashtag, if you're seeing a result that it says hashtag value, might be that you're referencing an incorrect cell. So my advice will be to go on where you're seeing that hashtag value text and check here the formula and make sure the formula is correct. All right, cool. So we did that. Let me see what's next. Let's compute. Okay, I'll give you then 2 minutes so you can try it out on your own to do exercise number 3. So exercise number 3 is going to be this one. So compute the total item totals for Jordan almonds and Mars bars. So I already did the Jordan almonds. Let's do the Mars bars. And let me know if you have any questions in the chat.
2 minutes left. Left. Seconds left. Seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
All right, so I see a great question in the chat. So this is what we're going to be doing next. Do we have to do it one by one? So it will be pretty tedious to do this one by one, especially if you have, let's say, not only 11 items, but if you had 100 items, that would be really, really tedious, right? So there's a few ways that you can do it automatically. So let's discuss those options. So the first option, let me tell you how many options I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you 1, 2, 3, 4 options. So I'm going to show you 4 options to do the same thing, to accomplish the same goal. So if you feel like I'm doing the same thing again and again, it's because I'm doing the same thing again and again. I just want to show you different ways of doing it. Okay, so you have the formula and you want to write basically the same formula, but for the next item. So how do you do that? So one way that you can do that is to copy and paste the formula. So the first way I'm going to show you is to copy and paste by clicking around. So you will click on the cell and you will click here on this clipboard, but not on the clipboard itself. You will click on this arrow going down and you would say copy. So you know it has copied something because you see the running ants on that cell. So now you know which cell it got the copy from. So you click on the cell where you're gonna paste the values and you do paste. And there you go. And notice that it didn't copy the number 20 and pasted the number 20. It pasted the formula. So we get the correct result here, which is 3 times 3. So that's an option. The other option is to do it through shortcuts. So to do it through shortcuts, notice that here it tells you what the shortcut is. So to copy is Command C if you're on Mac. If you're on a Windows, it will be Control C. So even if you forget the formula, you can just look at it here. Not the formula, the shortcut. Same with paste. So I'm gonna do that. Let me show you how I do it. So I do Control C. So let's see if this shows this. So Control C, and then I do Control V. And there you go. So now I get the formula. So that's the second way I was gonna show you. That's still pretty tedious, better than having to type the formula yourself. But it will be pretty annoying to have to do one by one, right? So the next thing that you could do is to drag. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a little square when you select this cell, any cell for that matter, but you should select the last one. There's a little green square there. And when you hover over that little green square, if you click on it and without letting go of the click, you drag it down this way, then you get all the values. So isn't it that nice that now you can get all the values? There you go. I'm going to show you one more way. So the other way, to be able to show it to you, I'm going to delete this last action that I did. So to delete the last thing I did is Control Z. If you're on Windows, if you're on Mac, Command Z. So Command Z. And okay, I go back again. Again, this little square, but instead of clicking on it and dragging it down, you just double click on it. And there you go. So now you have it. So you have those shortcuts. So let's see. If the value is copied, not the formula, maybe check from the cell where you're copying. It could have been that maybe you didn't write the formula. That would be my guess. Let's see, what else? What's my preferred option out of this? I like the one about double clicking, but everyone has their own preferences. Another question I see in the chat. So the values auto-populated in the table. Is there a way to control that? So that happens on Excel Online, that sometimes it automatically detects that is a table. And actually, when we first added the data, it probably asked us, is this a table? And it probably seemed like a pop-up, and we just said yes. So that's what happens. You will have to undo that. I don't know how to undo that from the top of my head, because I always leave it on. It's nice that it just auto-populates for you, but there has to be a way to undo that. Let's see. Another question that I like, because this is someone that is thinking with their data analyst brain. So the other question is like, but if we have the Kit Kat and the Kit Kat has a box of 48 and we have a quantity of 4, shouldn't we multiply 4 times 48 to get the total value? So that's a super valid question, because as a data analyst, you need to be attentive to detail. And this is the kind of gotcha moments when maybe you compute something and you get a weird result. So if you were working, you would ask for clarification to whoever set the price. In this case, we don't have that person here in the room with us. By looking at the price, I think is the box. So we don't need to multiply by that 48, because I don't think a single Kit Kat will be $54. So I think it's the box. So we don't have to do anything about it. But I really, really like that question, because that's exactly what you need to be thinking of as a data analyst. Let's see, what other questions do I see in the chat? All right, awesome. Cool, so let's go Okay, I see another question. Can you show how to do the equation again? So the equation, notice here is the equation, but if you wanted to fix it, you can double click on it and it's, let me do it again so you see it. So it's gonna be equals, you click this value times this value, and there you go. So basically you select the cell, the other cell, and between the two, you put the times value. The reason why you see this instead of C2 and D2, which is exactly the same thing, is because we have this auto table format on, but it's the same thing. And something else I forgot to tell you about Excel, which is pretty cool, is that here, for example, it's color coded. So C3, is blue, this is blue. D3, it's red, this is red. So here is kind of obvious what we're doing, but once we have more complicated formulas, it's easy to see what's going on. Also, another cool thing is that you can hover over each one of the values. Let's do it with this one, for example, C4, and you see that C4 has a value of 5. And D4, you can see that it has a value of 89. And when you hover over the multiplication, it shows you the total of that equation. So this is useful. Once you start having very complicated formulas, you can hover to know what you're referencing to. Cool. So there you go. Awesome. I see some questions about the number formatting. So I saw in the comments actually someone saying, oh, they fixed the issue of the hashtag value by changing the point by a comma. So for me, it would create an error, the comma, and that's because I have my Excel set up in the United States with the language as English. So for the people that are having that issue, maybe you have the Excel set up in some other region, so maybe Spanish or French. So the number is expecting a comma, not a point. So that could have happened. Also, for the formatting, if you wanted to have the dollar formatting, you can select the numbers and here click on the symbols for the dollars, and then you click on here and then you see the dollar price. So you don't have to do that, but if you wanted to, that's how you would do it. All right, awesome. So let's continue with our next exercise to see how we're doing. So that's gonna be this exercise, this one. So I'll give you a minute for this question. So this question is to multiply cell B2 and B3 together and get the total in cell B4. The correct formula to write in is, and I'll give you a minute for that. All right, yes, everyone got it right. So it's letter A. So this is the correct answer. Why? So the very first thing that you should know is that the formula starts with an equals. So that makes C and D wrong. Why is it D wrong? Because you wouldn't say the name of the cell that is going to contain the result. You would just start right away with the equals. So now we have between A and B. And then to multiply two values, you have to use the star symbol. If you use the letter X, it's going to get confused because it's going to think is quite literally the letter X, not the times symbol. So you have to use the star. So absolutely yes. All right. Yeah. So let's go with the next exercise, which I think we did already. Actually, copy the formula for E4 to E5. So E4 is this to E5 all the way to E12. So we already did this exercise. And we already looked at the shortcuts. So we can ask the next question. So the next question is to copy what is in a cell using a keyboard shortcut, highlight the cell and type. Which shortcut is it? All right. So it is Control C, like everyone said. So once again, if you have a Windows computer, it's going to be Control. If you have a Mac, it's going to be Command. So that's only going to be the difference that you have in there. So if it's so Control C is to copy. So this is the correct answer because that was the question. Control V is to paste. Control X is actually to cut. So you're removing the value and moving it elsewhere. And the other one that is super useful is Control Z, which is that clear? That's the letter Z. And that's to undo your last action. So these are super useful. Typically, you can do that by clicking around within Excel. But once you're working a lot, you don't want to be clicking so much because it's faster to do the shortcuts. So these are always a good idea to learn them. And there's many other shortcuts in Excel. These are like some of the common ones that work not just in Excel, it works everywhere. But yeah, just so you know. Okay, so what are we doing here? We need to compute the grand total, right? You want to find out what is that grand total. So the step number one was to compute the item totals, which we already did. We have here this column with the item totals. Step number two is to compute the discounts. So now that this is where I'm going to tell you which items have a discount. So the first item that is going to have a discount is the Kit Kat. And the other item is Jordan almonds. So everything else has a discount. Everything else doesn't have a discount. These two items have a discount of 20%, both. So if you were going to do this by hand, let's say if, for example, the Jordan almonds, the final price is $9 and you have a 20% discount, That means that 20% of 9 is 1.8. So to find this 1.8, how do you do it? You just multiply 9 times 0.2. That's the 20% discount. But the final price of the Jordan almonds themselves is going to be the original price minus the discount, which is, then it ends up being 7.2. So that's what we are going to be doing next. So I'm going to let you fly solo. You're going to create 2 columns in the next exercise, and then we'll do it together. So I want you to, without much instructions, to do it yourself. Of course, questions are always welcome. And then we will do it together. So that's the exercise. So exercise number 5, you have to create a column called discount, where you're going to compute the discount, and another column where you have the final price of the item. So there's actually several ways to approach this. It could be the case that different people are going to do it different ways. So it'd be really cool to see in the chat those different ways, how people are going to reach that answer. But yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes for this one, so you have time to try it out, and then we'll do it together. Yes, the items with the discount are the Jordan almonds and the Kit Kat, both for 20%. The amount discounted is 20%. All right. So I'm seeing that most people are doing it the same way that it is in the guide. So let me do it the same way, me too. So the items with a discount are the Jordan almonds and the Kit Kat. So I'm gonna steal the idea. I think it was David that did this. No, it was Shinsuke. So you could highlight this so you don't forget that these ones are the ones for the discount. Um, but it's completely optional. You don't have to do that. So let's compute the discount. So double click on here, and the formula will be equals the item total times 0.2. And you get the discount. Here we have an issue for those of you that are have this table that was automatically formatted, is that it did it for all the rows, and that's not what we wanted because not all the items have a discount. So one way, I'm gonna do Control Z to go back. One way to fix this is by going here on table design. So let me highlight table design and just click on convert to range. So it's not doing things automatically. And same way, if you wanted to make it into a table, that's where you would do it. But in this case, for the discount, there was a disadvantage because we don't want to compute that discount for all the values. Okay, so again, that was table design, and you click on convert back to range, and then it does it for you. So again, how do you compute the discount? You do equals the value times 0.2, and you get the discount. And applying our knowledge, let's copy that same formula for the Kit Kat. So we're gonna do Control C. We know that our value got copied because we have the walking ants on the cell. And we click here and we do Control V. And there you go. And now that you have this, I saw some people in the chat just writing 0 here because there's $0 discount. That's also valid. You could also leave it empty because Excel is going to know that's a 0. So to compute the final price is going to be equals the total of the item minus the discount. You hit enter. And here you could either drag it down, you could either copy and paste the value, you could write the formula again and again, so completely up to you. I'm gonna do it with my favorite trick, which is to double click here on this square in the corner. And there you go. So now you have it. I see another great question in the chat. So does Excel always change the cells that are referencing once you move the formula down, like in this case? So it was referencing these two cells. Now here's referencing these two cells. So this is the automatic behavior. There are ways to make it fixed on one specific cell if you wanted to use a specific value. So we're going to learn that in later lessons. But yeah, that's a good thing. Let's see. For people getting some type of percentage, might be that the numbers somewhere in here got formatted incorrectly. So I'm not sure exactly what it is, but this is one of the things that could be happening. So for example, in quantity, you can make sure that it's being perceived as a number, not something else. So you can click here on under general and click on number to make sure that it's a number. And if you don't like that it says 0.00 because it's a quantity, so we're never going to have like 4.5 Twix bars. You're never going to sell half of a Twix bar. So if you want to get rid of the zeros, you can click in here. And then same for the price. You can make sure you can say that it's accounting, so it shows the dollar sign. If it's showing some other monetary sign, you can go in here and change it back to the dollar sign. This one, I think it happened automatically once you got the formula, but if not, same thing, accounting, you do this and you have it. So if, for the people that are seeing a percentage, somewhere in there the formatting got incorrect. So that's how you make sure that you have the right formatting. Let's see. So some people are saying mine didn't round up the amount. How do you round up the amount? So I think that happened by default once I clicked on the dollar sign here, because monetary value is never going to be like 96777. It's only going to have 2 decimal numbers to account for the cents, so it rounds it up. So yeah, that would be the best way to do it. How did I get the 43.6? If I click on here, you would see the formula, but also I can double click on it, and the formula shows the item total times the 20% discount. Because remember, both the Kit Kat and the Jordan almonds had the 20% discount. Let's see. Yeah, for the people that are seeing the percentage, make sure this value it's under accounting and not some other value. Because maybe here instead of accounting, you have like a percentage here, so it would show the percentage here. But that's not what you want. You want to click here on accounting. This is optional, not everyone has to do it, but if you're seeing the percentage, that's one way to fix it. All right, I see some people saying, how do you get to the total? How do you get to the grand total? So that's what we are gonna be doing next. So first, I'll show you the slow way of getting the grand total. And then I'll show you the fast way. So I'll show you the slow way. So far we know that to compute a formula to get a value, we have to write equals, select the numbers that we're referencing to. So equals, I'm going to select this number, for example, and then the math symbol that we need. So in this case, it will be the plus. And then you do plus, and you do plus, and you do plus, and you get the idea. So you have to select all of them. And if you're thinking this is tedious, there is a way to do it faster. I'll show it to you briefly, but this is one way to do it. So drum roll for the grand total. And we hit enter. And there you go. So this is the grand total. So maybe you can write in here total, and there you go. So the grand total that our client order is $237.53. So now that you have this, there you go. You have your nice result. What is the easy way to do it? So let me delete this. Well, I can keep this one, but the easy way to do it, which technically was not supposed to be part of today's class, but since you guys are flying through the content, it's equals. And Excel has some formulas, some predetermined formulas to do things that are repetitive, a little bit easier. And you call these formulas by name. So the specific formula that we need right now, it's called sum. So you would do equals sum, and you open parentheses, and then you select the values that you would want to have. You close parentheses, and there you go. So you get exactly the same result. So both approaches give you the same result. I think everyone is going to be using this one because it's much easier than selecting each one of the rows. And you have been introduced to your first formula. So throughout this program, we're going to be learning different formulas. In fact, when you write equals and you start typing, you start seeing all the different formulas that are available in Excel. So for example, you have scan, search, sec, which is secant, hyperbolic, second, and so on. So in this case, we used sum. But you have many different formulas in Excel, and we're going to be learning several of them throughout the program. And then here, the cool thing about Excel Online is that it tells you what the formula does. This one is pretty obvious. Sum, it just adds all the numbers in a range of cells. But if it was something more complicated, it would tell you what it is, and you would know what to do with it. So you can just select all of them and close that parentheses. So notice that it says G2, which is this first value here, G2, colon. So colon means all the way to G12, which is the last value. So this colon, that's what it means, from this first cell to the last cell. So there you go. All right, awesome. So let's see, I'm checking the chat. I see some questions about the percentage. If you're still struggling with the percentage, maybe it would be a good idea to reach out to your TA so they can look at your screen and see exactly what's going on. My guess is that somewhere in there you accidentally made the formatting of the cells to be percentage instead of accounting in this case, or just general number, no specific format, and that should fix it. But if you're still having that problem with the percentage, yeah, maybe you can reach out to your TA. I see some people having questions and saying that they're lost. Let me know if you want me to repeat something. What was the issue, or did people get lost? So the final price, yeah, I can repeat the final price. So I'll show you the easy way, not the easy way, the long way, which is the same one as Codio. So everything that I'm saying here today is exactly the same thing that you have in your Codio guide. So you can always reference that later. So let me do the Codio way, which is the longer way. So you can do this total wherever you want. You could do it here, you could do it here. I'm gonna do it here just because it makes sense to have the grand total below all these values. So double click on it, equals, and then the long way will be just to select each one of the values. So this value plus the next value plus the next value plus the next value plus the next value plus, and you get the idea. We are going to have to select all those values all the way to the end. We're almost there. And there you go. So now we have the grand total. This was the long way. So if I click here on the value, you'll see the formula here, which is just basically adding each one of the cells, which is very tedious. And it has also an issue, which is the human component. Maybe you forgot to click on one of the cells and then you don't have the correct value. So the other way I was showing you, and don't worry if you don't get this one today, because you're going to be learning specific Excel formulas later on in this program. This is just to give you a small intro, is through the formulas with a name. So you do the same thing, equals, and you write sum, parentheses, and well, if this is in your way, you can just move it around. And then here, when you open parentheses, you select the range of values that you want to sum. So in this case, I start clicking on the number 20. I don't let go of the click, and I go all the way down up to here. So I have selected all my values, and I need to close my parentheses here. So I close my parentheses, and there you go. So both ways give me exactly the same result. This way is the preferred way because you're not prone to the human error. You're selecting all that range, so you can't make a mistake. And as I was explaining earlier, what this means is that it starts on cell G2, which is where we have this $20. The colon means that it selects all the cells all the way to G12, which is here, this last one with the $5.94. So both are exactly the same way. Oh, okay. So people want the final price, not the grand total. So let's do that final price in case you missed it. So the first thing to be able to compute the final price is to compute the discount. So from the exercise, we know that only two items have discounts, the Jordan almonds and the Kit Kat. Both have a 20% discount. So we created this column called discounts, but we don't need to compute the discount for all the items because not all the items have the discount. So we're only going to compute that value on those two items. So the formula would be the item total times 0.2. This is going to give you how much is 20% of this total item. So the 20% of $9 is 1.8. Now, same thing here. This value times 0.2 gives you the 20%. So 20% of this value is this one. So once you have it for the final price, you do the item total minus the discount. So here, basically, for this first row, effectively, you're doing $20 minus 0. If it makes you happier, you could write the 0 in there so you see it and you know that it's a 0. But if you leave it empty, Excel knows that it's a 0. There's no discount in there. So that's why we get a 20 in here. And then I just dragged this formula down and it gives me all the values. So for all the ones that don't have a discount, notice that is the same price because there's no discount. So it's the same price that we had computed earlier. And for the ones that do have a discount, which is the Jordan almonds and the Kit Kat, you see that the value is slightly different. And the value is, well, the subtraction of these two values. So $9 minus $1.80 gives you $7.20. And this is the same thing here. All right, cool. Awesome. So let's go through the next exercise. So the next exercise is the following one. So to add cells A1 and A2 together in cell A3, what would you type? So I'll give you a minute for that. All right. So as D just said in the chat, the equals always goes first. So this equals that should let you know that is B. Because the to let Excel know that you're gonna write a formula, it's with the equals. So it's B. Why is it not this one? I'm not even sure what's going on in here. This doesn't even look like Excel. This one could be, but don't forget the equals, so that's why it's not the answer. And this one, I don't know. I think they just ran out of creative wrong answers. So the correct answer is B. So A1 plus A2. All right. Awesome. So we have a few knowledge checks. So let's go through those. So the first one is which, and I like this question because it's something we didn't explicitly do today, but take your guess. What is the correct way to divide one cell by another cell? All right, I saw someone saying final answer, letter A. So answers have been locked in, and yes. So same thing, just because this is the only answer that starts with an equals, that's the first giveaway. But yeah, just to divide something in Excel, if you were curious, if you didn't know, you have to use this symbol. On my keyboard, this symbol, it's let's see where it is. It's next to the shift, but I think it depends from keyword to keyword. Some other keywords have it elsewhere, but yeah, that's the symbol to divide the two values. All right, next one. To type a price in an Excel cell, start by typing the dollar sign. Is this true or is this false? All right. So yes, it is false. So if you type the letter, the symbol dollar sign, you run the risk of Excel interpreting that cell as text, so it wouldn't be able to work on a formula. So I saw a few questions regarding this throughout the lecture, so let me answer that question. So I'm going to reset all the formatting in this spreadsheet that I have here. So I'm going to select all the numerical values. And here I'm just going to say number, and general number, no specific format. So I just clicked here, number format, general. So for the people with the issue of the percentage, just click here on no specific format. It should get rid of it. So when I was writing this data, when we were writing it together, I never wrote the dollar sign. You should never write the dollar sign, because if you write the dollar sign, then Excel is not going to know it's a number. So once you start doing these operations, like for example, this one, which is you took this value and you multiply it for 0.2, Excel will get confused. So you just put the number. If you want to reflect that is a monetary quantity, you have the option to select all the cells and then go here in the formatting and say accounting, and then it's going to default to the currency of my computer's setup. So my computer is set up in the United States, so it just automatically selects the dollar sign. If you got your computer in Spain or France or something like that, it might show the euro. So you can just fix it here by selecting this and clicking on the correct currency. And you can do that for any numbers that are dollar numbers. So yeah, same thing here. You can select that here and yeah, just dollar. And there you go. But yeah, that's the reason why you should never put that in there. So the answer, it is false. And let me fix this here because it's false. Okay. Next one, the last one for the $1 million. What is the keyword shortcut to undo the most recent action in Excel? All right. Yay. Everyone gets $1 million. No, I wish. But good job, everyone. So yes, it is Control Z to be able to get that shortcut to undo the last action in Excel. Cool. Awesome. So great job, everybody. Your first Excel class, your first business case. So now you have a demo to show to the shop owner, and you are helping this shop owner take better account of their money.